What if people used 100% of their brains? You've definitely heard this before. People can only use 10% of their brain while the rest of our cognitive ability stays untapped. It's a much peddled myth with many possible roots, but the overall concept appears to derive from the false perception that 90% of the brain organ consists of glial cells, which just function to connect neurons. However, since neurologists have steadily obtained a greater grasp of the brain's capabilities, most dismiss this theory as little more than a fantastic story regurgitated by popular media excursions like Lucy and Limitless. In truth, during the course of a day, individuals may truly employ 100% of their brain, but we seldom access all of its possibilities. Simultaneously, the brain is a strong beast that uses more energy than anything else in the body. Consequently, efficiency is vital to minimize weariness or burnout in order to avoid squandering resources. The brain prioritizes particular areas that tend to be used more consistently by the user. Overall, it's a costly link. The network is filled with hundreds of different connections, allowing for a broad variety of activities, but when people adopt routines, the brain begins prioritizing particular neurological pathways to boost productivity, while other parts have operated more irregularly. While this strategy spares energy while doing routine chores, over-reliance leads to limited flexibility and the building of habits. Good or poor habits might be tough and bothersome to change, but the brain isn't ever adaptive to all that. With a little work, it can successfully learn a new skill or two. However, even if the 10% myth is inaccurate, the basic premise that people aren't living up to their full potential remains true. Neuroplasticity is a common term in brain research circles. It explains the brain's capacity to rewire itself and build new neural connections, enabling humans to learn new things from an evolutionary viewpoint. This allows the brain to adjust for any area that could have lost capability due to a sickness or injury. This process doesn't happen spontaneously, however, and requires the neurons to be constantly activated by performing tasks, which in turn allow new pathways to be strengthened. So activating a larger variety of connections by attempting new things or repeating old abilities will boost your neuroplasticity, resulting in quicker learning and heightened flexibility. Practice makes perfect more than simply an old wives' adage, since repeated performance corresponds with increased neural connection. For example, a great guitarist mixes new riffs faster than an amateur owing to their brain committing significantly bigger parts to hand motions than an ordinary person. But if cycling through the same patterns is what's most practical, what would even be the purpose of engaging 100% of the brain? Well, although there's no magical medication capable of unleashing someone's latent potential, utilizing all of the brain's areas should lead to a greatly enhanced life. The brain is divided into the left and right hemispheres, which demonstrate unequal control over the body. While writing, a right-handed pupil would utilize the left side of their brain, and vice versa. Recent studies reveal that a person's favored hand has more to do with their spine than any neurological processes, although bodily coordination may be strengthened by taking out workouts that demand the brain to transition between hemispheres. They think the brain split accounts for considerably more distinctions than merely movement. The right-sided hemisphere is linked with creativity, intuition, and holistic thought, while the left side deals with logic, reasoning, and scientific skill. As a statistician and an artist prioritize their left and right hemispheres respectively, that side of their brain could establish dominance, but even a mathematician's creative hemispheres will never be completely out of commission. People just prefer to use a well-oiled machine over a less alternative, so they tend to stick to what they know. The brain functions in waves, and depending on the situation, one hemisphere will take charge and approach a task with a distinct attitude. If the right side wins out, the person will opt for a more holistic viewpoints and focus on the whole rather than the individual parts. Alternatively, a left-sided analytical approach strives to grasp the whole by attentively scrutinizing the various elements or minor aspects. The two hemispheres do function in unison, but the faster a brain can transition between analytical and holistic thinking, the more sophisticated, creative, and presumably productive they believe it will be. The last thing anyone should want is for the brain to literally fire 100% of its neurons at the same time, as overstimulation would likely cause a seizure if you're striving to truly unlock your full cognitive potential. And some experts reckon that brain sync is the name of the game. Most situations involve illogical and emotional elements, but humans tend to focus on one above the other. When both hemispheres stand on equal footing, a whole new world of thinking becomes feasible, one that perceives an entire picture without neglecting any specific components. With both halves complementing each other, humans should see an increase in self-awareness and active behavior, enabling for habits to be broken and new brain patterns to be created. In short, it should be easy to learn things. It is commonly acknowledged that creativity and invention peak during childhood, largely because children have a fear or understanding that something can be irrational or unattainable. A youngster still growing, the brain soaks up information at an astounding pace, but in the late 19th century, psychologist William James claimed that by the age of 30, a person's character is set like cement and would never soften again. Sadly, additional studies dropped the cutoff threshold to 25, stressing the change gets difficult after resistant habits are firmly set, but a well-balanced brain and locked superlearning enable foreign notions to be taken up with rapid erasure and issues to be assessed from a broader variety of angles. My definition: innovation needs new connections to be made between neurons, but that is only probable when a person is tapping into 100% of their network. Another advantage of an instinctual brain is a decrease in anxiety and dread. In and of itself, tension is not intrinsically harmful and functions as a notice that danger is or might be developing, but when a scenario emerges that appears to provide no way out, stress gives birth to anxiety, a sensation that can be devastating. However, heightened awareness owing to brain sync would offer up more possible paths that may be mined for answers, which should lower anxiety, which correlates adversely with our comprehension of the world around us. Therefore, a person effectively employing 100% of their brain should be calmer and more relaxed, with certain exceptions. Most humans have an underdeveloped right side of their brain, the one less likely to change as people age, and that's largely because most jumps reward structure over creativity, but there are countless exercises designed specifically to reawaken the right hemisphere if you're interested in painting or writing short stories. Dedicate just a couple of minutes every day to practice, and over time creative thoughts and ideas will start to flow more freely. Eventually, you should notice that your thought processes are more flexible and varied even in everyday situations as you explore more and more of your brain's potential. So although there aren't any special cheat codes or drugs that instantly activate 100% of your brain as birth of movies, and the hypothetical benefits would be far less cartoonish than suggested by certain films, we needn't feel as though we're wasting brain power that's irretrievably locked away from us, because a well-balanced brain is very achievable if you're prepared to routinely break away from routine by regularly mixing up and challenging yourself. You blow the dust out of even the creepiest of cognitive corners, and the rewards of a well-balanced brain are definitely with the efforts.